Welcome to KPMG India's Startup 𝗃𝗁𝗍 2.0, where we have honest conversations with founders of India's emerging giants and where brand builders, culture shapers, and rule breakers spill the real tea. This season, we are going a little deeper, louder, and a little sharper. I'm your host, Brijendra Kumar, and today we are joined by a leader who is not just building platforms, but also building bridges across India's linguistic and digital divide. Please welcome Amitabh Nag, CEO of Digital India Bhashini Division and Director with India AI. With over 3 decades of leadership across IT as well as government transformation, he brings in a unique blend of private sector implementation as well as implementing large-scale transformative programs for Government of India. His career has traversed major technology firms and now supports India's mission to make language AI accessible at scale. So welcome, Amitabh.
Thank you.
Now, Amitabh, what I've seen, your journey is fascinating. From leading enterprise IT solutions across, and you have done very large-scale India programs like even 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗍. From there to steering India's national language AI mission. What inspired you, to move from a corporate strategy building to a large-scale digital infrastructure building, and that too for a linguistic inclusion?
It's actually nothing changing, I would say, because at the end of the day, both these projects which you have talked about, or multiple such projects which are there, are all about building impact, and creating impact. Building impact platforms and creating that impact across to the various things. So wherever the opportunities come across where you are able to create an impact at a scale, that attracts everyone, and it attracted me also because when the opportunity came, I thought that I would be in a position to create it. So when I joined Bhashini as such, or Digital India Bhashini Division, I don't think it was a brand at that point in time, but today it is a brand. And it's all about creating impact. You created impact, so it's a brand. If you didn't, then it was not a brand.
So India's always needed, a multilingual digital backbone. And this has long been recognized, and I saw an effort being done for quite some time. And we were a part of this National Language Translation Mission. In fact, we operated out of that office. But it has actually never been a reality, which now it has become, through Bhashini. So when you took charge, what aspects, of this vision resonated most with you, when you work towards making this a reality?
What has to be done, and perhaps there is often a discussion or a saying that, unless and until you take some calculated risks, you will always be in your labs, and things in your labs will not come out in open, and the value will never be recognized. So I think the biggest or the leap of faith which was taken across at that point of time is to say that, okay, the research is mature enough to take it to the market. Of course, we had a lot of attempts of translations as you talked about, but those were based on different technologies. It was based on rules. It was not AI based. And AI based always has some amount of uncertainty in terms of the probable answers or probable translations which it will make, or probable outcomes it will make. Translation is just one of them. And if you take the leap of the faith and try to do something in a calculated way, which we did, we tried to basically build that in a narrow use cases rather than trying to do too many things. And those narrow and targeted use cases started becoming successful. We, of course, do not say that we should not be doing the larger piece of it. You should. But then taste your success first, because success breeds success. So once you are successful in one use case, the second use case will automatically be more successful, and you learn from what you have already done. So that is another important aspect. So learning, improving, research to the market, all of these are factors which have actually led to where we are today.
And this question will always come because we have seen very few people actually transition from a private sector to lead such a large, and very, very visionary kind of a mission. Now, I'm sure the experiences, what you have had earlier, would have made a difference here. But you see anything specific which you learned or practiced as a private sector person, which was brought into the other side once you took over?
I think it's the private sector's ability to incorporate the risk-taking ability into the system, which is brought back here, right? And rest of is basically to see how you are able to coordinate, energize the ecosystem. And one of the most important aspect was that because of my background being in a system integration organization or a software development organizations or IT organizations where and having sold turnkey or outsourcing assignments, all of these actually is it requires a lot of ecosystem building. You cannot, as an organization, whichever organization you're working upon, you will not bring out any specific service. You will not do everything. You will do only the specific service. So you have to energize the ecosystem actually to translate into a proposition or a value for the customer. And here it is also all about ecosystem. So those two aspects are something which we had, I think that which I had carried forward to see that it is, it is proliferated to the extent it is required.
So, and interestingly, and I've seen that working, when you orchestrate multiple moving pieces and bring it like a music, where at least we've seen the models getting developed by someone else, the platform being managed by someone else, and then there are a host set of people who are developing something more and bringing it onto a platform. I think certainly, this entire experience of bringing this ecosystem together, which you have done earlier also, would have played a great role. But just for our audience, because many of them come from tech and consulting background, they may not be very much aware of how Bhashini works.
Yeah.
If you could just give a sneak peek on that.
So if you actually look at it, our inception and the thought process has been to democratize and kind of Uberize the entire setup, right? So, and that's the best similarity I can draw as of now. There can be now, of course, Zomato is another one. So it's like a digital platform which is actually built by ecosystem and run by ecosystem and used by ecosystem as such. And we become the sutradhar of everything which is happening. And our value comes from how do we orchestrate, or you say, as you said, make all the pieces work together to form a music as such. So our models have been built by higher education institutes or R&D organizations, about 70 of them, and the numbers are also increasing. And they almost, was it necessity or was it design? I would say it is both, because you can't do understand Manipuri sitting out in Delhi. So you need to involve Manipur as a state. Whom do you involve? You perhaps involve the higher education institute, which is located out there, who has a footprint on AI as well as on language, and also is able to, organize or be your representative in that ecosystem. So that is how we build the models, right? And then we, had to build the platform. So we had our own software development agencies who were actually working with us to build the platform and providing that help. We had philanthropic organizations who chipped in and said that, okay, I'll build this particular piece of it. So that is another activity which was there. And then we moved forward to see how we can build applications. So the startup started contributing. And then we worked with our customers, whom we convinced that AI is a journey. AI is not a a milestone by itself. It has to move forward in your collaboration. So then they started chipping in, using it, giving feedbacks, and then also trying to say that these are the places we need to improve. So that again got into a feedback on an improvement cycle. Then we had states who had said that, okay, language is our domain. My language is my domain. So how can I help? And so they started contributing in terms of data sets. And when we rolled out Bhashini Mobile, which is a mobile system, mobile app, which is available on Play Store and App Store, which when downloaded actually gives certain output. And then we are now talking about Bhashadan, which was launched earlier. But now it has taken momentum because people see value of contribution. So if they know now that there is something which is positively getting done because of their contribution, so they are willing to contribute more. So that has led to a cycle. So if you actually look at it, multiple pieces put together and then taken forward.
In fact, as you mentioned, with so many people trying to coming and contributing, but still somewhere, look, 300 million transactions per month is no mean feat. This is one of the largest, possibly translation and other similar activities which possibly would have done ever in the world. Now, at that scale and with so many ecosystem partners coming in, how would you manage the accuracy?
That's accuracy is, see, again, the accuracy is the way you hold the things, right? And the way you see it. Right now, if I'm speaking and if you give it to a purist who knows English, he will say that I don't know perhaps English. I'm not speaking correct grammatical English. Now, that's a point of view which is there. But if you actually look at it, our accuracy is also a journey. You want, when you are speaking, you want the other side to understand it. That's the first piece of it. Yes. Now, whether it is a grammatically correct language or otherwise is a question. So, when if you look at the AI models or translation piece with AI model, at a 60% level plus, the models become usable both on text and voice. And things starts getting understood, where the effort to translate manually is far more than the machine translation. So that's the threshold point which is there, which can be achieved today very easily. It's not difficult. Then you start improving, and you improve and keep on improving to see that where you can reach. At 90% plus, you are able to do a transaction, right? So, and perhaps if you're looking at everything to be correct, then you have to invest more time, energy, and data sets as such. So, my point, which, or the industry point of view of accuracy would differ from people to people. Our idea would be to see what are the simplest use cases which can be actually put forth in the market, which will immediately benefit the people. Because this is for a person who is at a hinterlands where there is a language divide, if he is able to understand 12 out of 20 words which are spoken by the other person, he's very happy because he got the intent.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a question of, it's a journey. It's a question of what you want from the platform, and hence it's a question of how much effort you want to put in to say that how accurate it is. Right. So obviously we face different set of users and customers when we are in the market, and we tend to satisfy their requirements as it goes by. Obviously, certain places we are still out of those boundaries of customers who want 100% accuracy, but we are striving towards it.
So, for you, what does success look like for Bhashini? Is it adoption, accuracy, or something else?
I think everything is, every parameter, when you look at a corporate or anything, you don't focus on one KPI as such, you have multiple KPIs. But see, the good thing about it is one KPI impacts the other. So if there is more adoption, there is, demand for more accuracy. So there is a demand for more contribution. So, it is a kind of set of things which are there. Otherwise, if you look at it, you would perhaps say that I want, 100 million data sets of this language before it becomes accurate. And then I would look for adoption. While here it is reverse. I look for adoption to build accuracy to increase contribution. And that would, to build accuracy, I need contribution. So it's a question of how do you play it around. Playing it around accuracy is perhaps would have been self-defeating.
Yes.
Playing it around adoption has given us the flexibility to orchestrate accuracy through contribution.
So, Amitabh, you and Bhashini has been, a success, but I understand everybody wants anybody who has tasted success to contribute something more, and I know that you have also been now leading India AI's application development and AI Kosh. So, what's the strategic vision around that?
See, the fundamental part of the thing is to look at what Bhashini has done, created data sets and build up use cases. Use cases can be applications, which are targeted use cases. And of course, data sets are data sets which are there.
What AI Coach does is to expand that vision of language data sets to data sets in all the domains. While as an application, again, from language application, it expands the horizon to multiple applications across the various domains. So that's what it is primarily trying to do. Of course, India AI vision is a very broad vision, and that is something separate, but it's basically to carry out to ensure, see, most of the data sets in the country are currently held in private domain or government domain. And their AI readiness either has to be built up or it might be a challenge. So, that's what is the attempt of AI Kosh. While as application development initiative ensures that most of the AI applications which are at the domain of a curve, which is at a hype curve or at a learning curve, we capture those early so that we are able to improve them and deploy them faster.
Okay, and also something related. I mean, open source indic LLMs are a very hot topic now. Now, how do they fit in this India AI roadmap?
The open source indic LLMs are basically LLMs which are supposed to be developed so that we are in a position to have our own native LLMs. And I'll give you an analogy which is basically saying that if there is a child which is born in India and we want them to basically adopt our culture, adopt our thought process, adopt our values, we teach them those things over a period of time through formal schooling at home or otherwise the informal gathering which is there. The same thing is perhaps what we are talking about in terms of LLMs, that we want these LLMs to actually be part of our society and imbibe what we are trying to say. Means we don't want any relations of father or mother to be called as uncle. We want them chacha, tau, mama, all those words should come in. And that is something which we would like our LLMs to also understand. And that is where we were perhaps going towards, and that is the broad vision. And I gave a very simplistic example towards that.
No, it I think makes a lot of sense, because the fact is that India's right now contribution to those data sets on which most of the global LLMs have been trained on would be limited. And hence, if I want to create my own reference applications or use it in a daily life, it makes more sense to have this trained on our own ecosystem.
Right.
Great initiative. But okay, so another question, but I'm just moving it separately to a different area, which is, look, every transformation comes with its own complexity now, and you would have faced them. But would you want to recall one of your toughest challenges when you look at scaling entire Bhashini and even in India AI?
See, toughest, I would say, you have tough challenges and toughest challenge. You are not able to identify which one will be the toughest, but I would basically give 4 or 5 points which have been a good learning for us. And obviously, they were challenges and we overcome them and then they became learning. One was, of course, the dataset creation. We didn't have digital dataset for all 22 languages. And we created digital data sets using brute force. So we were basically taking some content to people like you and me and asking them to read and write and do it in our own language. And that's how we created digital data sets. Now, this is a very unique way in which digital data set was created. And if you actually look at the low resource language and specifically on Indian languages, India has moved ahead in this particular area because of this novel way of creating digital data sets. So that's a very unique example. Digital data was one of the biggest challenge to create the AI model. Now, since we have crossed that hump, we would perhaps look back as a learning, and that learning can also be used by the world. The second thing which was there was to actually look at how, you are going to build this and render this AI models as such, right? And doing it, in a consolidated way with one monolithic organization would have been perhaps one of the most difficult tasks, right? And 22 languages, you have 5 set of problems at automatic speech recognition, text to text, text to speech, optical character recognition, and building digital dictionary. This would have been like a permutation and combination which would have never, you wouldn't have been able to get across with. So the idea of democratizing it across, 70 research institutes and building this up in a democratized, overized way actually got us to a situation which is again a role model for the world, right? That how do you build a technology platform as diverse as that in such a overized and democratized form. The third, of course, was to look at how do we build this into the streams of targeted use cases. We didn't try to do too many things. We didn't try to say that I will make a speech out of what you say or all those kind of things. We targeted the use cases, and our initial use cases was voice-based payment. Our initial use cases was farmer asking a query and we answering them. So those were very basic use cases which was trying to solve very targeted and narrow problem. Again, this is an example for the world to how to actually deploy AI. Now, don't try to do a very big thing because then you will be having very big complexity you may not be able to solve. This is the way you can solve it at a scale. Then it comes across to how do you actually build the improvement cycle, right? So when you deliver value, you are able to build the interest. And when you build the interest, people start looking at, start criticizing you. And you turn it to a constructive criticism by asking them to contribute. And fortunately today, when we are looking at it, the worst performing languages have invoked maximum interest from the states or the owners of the language to say, yes, you have done something, it is good, I will now improve it. So the collaborative effort to build that platform is good. And I think one of the basic thing which we did was, and where we actually ensured that we are in a position to, grab attention, was to take up where it pains most, right? So it was inclusivity which was basically having a challenge. We used voice as a medium to take the inclusivity, and voice was one of the most difficult technologies to tackle at that point of time when we initiated. Today, given the success which we have, voice has become most research and fastest maturing technology today. We started the concept of voice journey. 2 years back, it was the first time we started a farmer asking a query and the answers coming out of the system without any technology knowledge or without any knowledge about any of the other technical mumbo jumbos, as I call it, to the farmer. So these are some things which we have actually overcome as challenges, and they had different proportion of complexity at that point in time. But since we have overcome them, then now they are learnings.
And with every obstacle you overcome, there would be new ones waiting for you.
Right.
I mean, the fact is that this entire language diversity, it's beautiful, and we cherish it in our country. But also complex, because with language also comes dialects. Now, how do we handle that? Because 22 languages are still 22, but when you go to dialects, it becomes much more. How are we, planning to handle that?
So I think, the most of the dialects or most of the future developments of the system are adoption cyclic. You adopt, you use, you find deficiencies, and you feed it back to the system that this is deficiency. But our biggest challenge about this particular dialects as well as the language would be that it has taken 10,000 years plus to develop a language. I guess that's how it would have been. And we are trying to crush it in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And unlike English, which has got a lot of digital footprint, or any other language which is there, even, for example, Chinese or Japanese or French even, we are having very little footprint of digital data. And an orchestrated campaign of creating digital data or digitizing ourselves or digitizing our language is extremely important activity for us going forward. So often we talk about which model is better than what other model, but I think, the difference is to an extent of what is the amount of data which you have fed into those two models. You will often find the better model has some TB of data more. And that trap we should not get into. We should focus into, collecting more data and putting it into a public domain, just so that it is used for model training.
Also, and this is coming to a place because it's been a journey for you. So were there moments where you actually saw that this is not working out, but still you went on, and such moments?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that has been the case, because every day posed a new challenge, and it also said that you should move on, and obviously the failures have been the biggest phases of success. But the crux of it would be that the point is that when you decide to struggle to do it right way, things would happen. But if you want to set the things right, in retrospect, then things would not work. So we tried to do the things right way. That's what I would say. And hence we didn't have those kind of challenges where you feel that, oh, let's give it up and look at something else.
So, this entire leadership also is a learning curve, and while you're always experimenting and learning new things, but has there been a failure which has taught you something, that, okay, fine, maybe we should not have done it this way?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that what we have, yes, there have been instances where we would have perhaps made some tactical mistake, but there wouldn't have been an instance where we had said that, oh, this was something very wrong. We shouldn't have done it, and we should be doing something else. I don't think that has worked out. That does not mean that we have done everything right. We have our own mistakes, I would say, not failures, but those are more tactical.
Also, you have been, recognized. We've seen that you're coming in Forbes, MIT Sloan, and received awards like Scotch, Digital Trailblazer. What does recognitions mean to you beyond obviously headlines?
Recognition, I think, it's obviously a cherished moment because you are, somebody is trying to say that we have done something good. But the recognition is actually when you are able to, walk on a street and somebody says that, yes, it has made a difference to me. So a good example of that is, of course, UPI. Good example of that is Aadhaar. It has made a difference to the person walking on the street. And our endeavor is to make similar difference. So I would say that still, if I walk out today in the market, perhaps there will be not many people who would actually say that Bhashini is making difference. But yes, the recognition would come out at that point in time.
Now, because many times people may not even be aware that it's a Bhashini which is making that difference.
Yeah, that's also a challenge. But, the point which is there is that we have to take step by step. For example, the good thing about Aadhaar or UPI is that you are in a position to technically certify a system and then move forward. We don't have that luxury. We have to keep moving and keep improving. So at all points in time, as I said, one person on the street might find it very useful. The other person may not find it useful. And that would be because that one person is 60% guy, and other person was 90% accuracy before he says that it's making a difference. So we have much, much, much more difficult tasks than what our brothers had in TPI space. But I would say that we are supposed to be moving towards in that direction.
And also what I at least personally felt that many times, and I'm sure that those things, will start getting seen, is that there would be a Bhashini at work and still people may not be aware that it's Bhashini which is powering. The way we've seen multiple websites becoming multilingual. Now, what makes it multilingual, people may not be aware. But the fact is that that's what is powering them.
Yeah, so it's also a question of how do we brand it out and do we actually be doing that, obvious, and whether the chicken should come first or, we should hold our branding effort back to an extent that we do a very large step forward before we start branding it out to an extent that it is an Intel Inside kind of a thing,
Yes.
that is a very different thing. So we would need to basically think through that, and we'll figure out how to do about it.
Also, what I've seen, and this is more of a platform where we bring in startups. So we have seen up close how the startups are coming together, and be encouraged by Bhashini itself to come and participate in hackathons, creating reference applications. What would be your advice to some of these startups, who would want to come and be a part of this journey?
See, the idea would be that their thought process should be to look at success, initial success, and contribution to the, making it further success. Means in the sense that, you cannot say that it is not a journey which is just done. Generally what is happening with startups is that they build a product and they look at their product to be improving continuously, right? That's the way they are looking at it. Here they have an additional responsibility of getting back to the, their backend system, which is Bhashini, which is the models, and also have a responsibility to improve it as they go by. They will learn new things and they have to feed it back. Now there, if the contribution or the value chain umbilical cord is broken, then you would definitely have a challenge. So currently the startups ecosystem which works has been generically, trying to see how they work both ways. They, upgrade their product while they are able to give the feedbacks to the backend system.
Now we have achieved something. We are at some, at a very definite milestone, and with that kind of inferences is now able to achieve. What next? What's next for Bhashini?
So we still have our jobs cut out. We still have to reach to the tier 2, tier 3 cities and villages, and we still have to build that killer applications which would actually satisfy these people to work upon. And Bhashini app, the mobile app, is one such application, and it is catching up. We already have about 1.5 million downloads, and we will be having more of them. So that's something where we are looking at. Speech-to-speech is something which we want to master on and take the things forward there. Because see, the documents which we have generated in the past would get digitized, and that is OCR'd. And the new documents will always will be translated natively digital, right? So it is not going to be scanned and translated. So what we are looking at definitely is to look at how do we master speech-to-speech, and that's where your, point of dialects come in. That's where your point of different speaking style comes in, and that's where we are also looking at those disabilities or those challenges which are there with respect to speech, which different people have. So those are things which we will have to handle in future.
In fact, we have seen you have also attempted something beyond speech-to-speech from one language to another. You've also seen that actually happening, live, where one language in real time is getting translated into multiple others. How are we achieving that feat?
So that's obviously an engineering feat, more or less, to say that. But yeah, it is it's like working towards translation and constructing it back. But behind that, it is more or less a user requirement. You still want people of different languages to speak to each other and speak to each other seamlessly. So that is something which we are working upon. So speech-to-speech has different forms. It can be video conferencing, it can be I speaking in one language and multiple people in the audience understanding it in multiple languages. And then obviously it's a combination of sound system, audio, as well as the translation system. So it's not one system, it's again a system integration which is happening at that end.
And that's what you have been doing since ever. Okay. So again, given that, and I'm just briefly touching upon India AI, is that how do you see the future of AI in India? For many, it's being the next biggest thing. For many, we could be late in the race again after manufacturing. But what's the point of view that you have around?
I don't think if you see the example of Bhashini, you will say that we are late in the game or we are behind the scenes or whatever we are there. Of course, we are not creating jazzy videos to talk about it, or we are not creating those images or otherwise. But if you look at it, India has always led in terms of technology deployment for the end user in benefit of people. And that is the place where you lead. Do you have any other Aadhaar anywhere in the world? I don't think so. Do you have UPI? I don't think so. So, it's preemptive and maybe, trying to pump us more to say that we are behind in AI, but it is like we don't have any other example of technology deployed at that scale which can benefit people to that level.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think we should be buying that so easily. What we should be doing is to stay focused, that, we don't have to do many things which other people are doing. we have to deploy technology to benefit people. And that's where we would be always ahead. And once deployed in India, of course, the scale and the complexity which we deal in is an example for anywhere in the world. Means you didn't have COVID certificates being issued in 2 minutes after your vaccination anywhere in the world. You didn't have digital certificates of COVID, which was so authentic that you were in a position to figure out where and how the vaccination was done, how many doses have been done. So I think, we are self-critical. It's good that we are self-critical. It keeps us moving. But I don't think we are anywhere behind in deploying technology to the benefit of people.
And how would you suggest, while government is making those, efforts, and many of them, like Bhashini, have borne fruits, how can even the people contribute in this entire journey? Is there a way where,
So, Bhashini, of course, had Bhasha Dan, which is contributory, but there are other things which are contributory as well, First thing is stating your problem itself is a contributory thing, because, often we say that, everything is going hunky-dory, so you are happy with whatever is the status quo. But if you say that I have a problem like this, then, itself is a big contribution, because then somebody will get up and try to solve it. So it's all about telling that this is the issue, and core issue means it's not a superficial issue, it's a core issue.
And specifically from Bhashini perspective, I understand there is this entire platform called Bhasha Dan. Is there a way where you see people, institutions, organizations like us and many others can come and support this entire initiative?
Multiple ways. I think at the end of the day, we are looking at people contributing to make this better. So these are few platforms which are there, but the basic thing which we have to think through is that this is a platform which has been built through the contribution and ideas coming from various people. We still are open to saying how an organization wants to contribute. It's a question of what kind of brainstorming can be there. So, for an organization like yours, which is basically technically savvy, does audit, there is a huge amount of contribution which can be made in terms of domain enrichment of the models, domain enrichment of the data sets, which is there. And this can be gamified to an extent that it doesn't actually lead to a project which will obviously need investment and require specific resources to be put in. But it can be gamified through the day-to-day life. That is how perhaps we would like all these organizations to contribute.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
This brings us to the end of another episode of Startup Speakeasy.